Today on Time About the Movies, the gang is back for another adventure 11 years after the last Toy Story movie. Toy Story 3 comes out, and that 11-year gap, can this series still be as good as the first two movies were? Well, we'll find out. And we'll also take a look at the movies that had the balls to go up against Toy Story 3. Well, the first one didn't succeed, obviously. That, of course, Jonah Hex, starring Josh Brolin as the title character, along with John Malkovich and Megan Fox. I almost said Jonah Hill, but he's on the last one we have here, along with John C. Reilly and Marissa Tomei. That is Cyrus. So, June 18th, 2010. It's coming your way next here on Time About the Movies. Was it just me, or did Woody and Buzz look a lot smaller in that room, in that trailer, compared to what they look like in the movies? Because it really does look like, I don't know if it's like a forced perspective thing or something, but it definitely felt like they were much smaller than they usually were. But maybe that's just my thinking on it. But anyway, welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the three films released on June 18th, 2010, and we're starting off, of course, with Toy Story 3, the movie that 11 years it took to get this film made, and of course, the first two movies are classics, so this one had some pretty big shoes to fill. Do they fill it up? Let's find out. Andy is now 17 and going off to college, and he has to wonder what he plans on doing with the toys that he grew up with. The toys wonder themselves what will become of them, even though they know that they would come eventually. Andy decides to put them in the attic, but his mom accidentally thinks it's trash, and the toys eventually land inside a donation box at Sunnyside Daycare, where the toys believe that they are going to get more playing time with the new kids, but they soon discover that not everything is as it seems at Sunnyside, and basically they become prisoners a la Great Escape type of prisoners inside the daycare, which leads to many things happening in the process, and just like the Great Escape, they have to figure out a way to obviously escape. And believe it or not, at the time when this movie was coming out, I really did not think that I was going to like this movie. I mean, I was really afraid that the trailers really weren't selling me on the movie per se. Plus, we just had How to Train Your Dragon come out, which was a very, very good movie. And I thought back then, this thing is going to have some really, really hard shoes to fill if it's going to be as good as good as this, or even as good as the other Toy Story movies. But yeah, the movie came out, and my fears were quickly evaporated because, yeah, this thing not only delivered everything I was asking for, but it exceeded my expectations. This is actually a tie with, I can't remember which one, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, for the best movie of the year. I mean, I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I mean, this is about as good of a trilogy as you can get, and I'm not gonna lie, when Andy, there's that great bit at the end of the movie, just the movie itself overall is great. It's great hearing all these voice actors back again. Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Joan Cusack, John Ratzenberger, Wallace Shawn. They got Blake Clark, who was a great character actor, to replace Jim Varney, who died shortly after the last movie came out, or maybe just a little bit before then. But it's a pretty good replacement for him overall. And you got a lot of great new characters. I mean, come on, Jodie Benson. Well, she's back as Barbie, but Michael Keaton playing Ken. Talk about pitch-perfect casting right there. You got Ned Beatty as Lotso, Whoopi Goldberg, I'm trying to remember who else, Timothy Dalton, excuse me. I'm getting names all mixed up here. Timothy Dalton, Kristen Shaw, Jeff Garlin, Bonnie Hunt playing all these toys from Bonnie in general. And the film is very good. It delivers everything you can ask for, and then some of the great adventure film with these characters. Like, it really ups the ante. It really delivers everything it promises. It's a really, really entertaining movie. And it's not afraid to go dark when it needs to. I mean, the last, 25 minutes alone is filled with so much action and, like, emotions. It's just like the way they pulled it off so well. Like, from them nearly getting killed from this fire that they're in, from this fiery pit of trash they're going into, to the bit at the end when Andy's giving up the toys to Bonnie. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I almost teared up watching it. I mean, it's something where it's just like, it's the perfect finale to that story. It's great seeing, the tide turning and the baton being passed to this young kid, and it's a really, really effective scene. Even after all these years, it still gets me every time I see it. I mean, it's great to see these characters once again on the big screen. And it's one of the rare summer movies that has not been a huge disappointment, because a lot of the summer movies that have come out at that point were not the big hits overall. This isn't Iron Man 2. This isn't what was another bit disappointing movie? Robin Hood's kind of disappointment. I was gonna say, but then there's Shrek Forever After. But then again, Shrek Forever After actually did better than Shrek the Third did. So, yeah, the summer overall wasn't that strong for blockbusters in general, but this one stuck the landing big time. And again, you got a great script by Michael Arnott, who wrote one of my favorite movies from the last decade, Little Miss Sunshine, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm reading off my review from the website, but the visuals are still great to look at. They upped the ante in terms of the graphical designs. I mean, they definitely look a lot different in the 15 years between the first movie and this film. And, 9 years later, Toy Story 4 would continue to up the ante on the animation overall. The cast, once again, is great. And this is one of the better 2D, 3D movies this is one of the better looking 3D movies. I will say that it really wouldn't make a difference in any way, shape, or form if you watch it on either 2D or 3D. Either version works very well on its own. I mean, it works very well. This whole movie was just so good. It really is one of the best movies of the year. Easily the best movie of the year. Even though it is kind of a tie with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which we will get to in about 2 months' time here when we get to August of 2010. But, what more can I say, man? Toy Story 3 is an absolutely incredible movie. It's a great end to a really good trilogy, which led to a pointless, but I still think it's still a good enough fourth film that came out 9 years later. I know a lot of people still don't like that one, but I still enjoy it. Toy Story 4 is still pretty solid overall. It's like the Kung Fu Panda 4 of the series in general, pretty much. But anyway, we'll get to that one eventually. But Toy Story 3, what more you gotta say? It's a classic. It's worth it. Definitely check it out. So, 2 movies decided to go up against Toy Story 3. They would eventually lose, but were they bad movies? This first one you could definitely say was Jonah Hex. Well, I think that trailer kind of gives you an indication on everything that's wrong with Jonah Hex in general. But, it could have been awesome. I mean, Jonah Hex is a badass character. You've got Josh Brolin playing him. Perfect casting. John Malkovich is the bad guy. They get written by the guys who made Crank, and then the shit starts to hit the fan when you realize Megan Fox is playing the love interest. It's directed by the director of Horton Hears a Who, and it's produced by Matt LeBlanc. I mean, how do you go from a badass start in casting Josh Brolin as Jonah Hex, and then you find out that Joey Tribbiani is one of the producers on this? Like that should have been our warning sign right there, but the plot of the movie is that during Grant's presidency, Jonah Hex, played by Josh Brolin, is a remorseless bounty hunter. In the Civil War, he was a rebel whose honor put him afoul of a Confederate general, played by John Malkovich, who murdered Jonah's family while Jonah watched. As a result of the ordeal, Jonah's face is disfigured as he can talk with the dead as well. Because I guess that's exactly what happens in that situation. But after staging his own death, Turnbow, with a group of rebel stalwarts, hatches a plan to bring the Union to his knees. Grant wants Hex to stop it. While the nation readies to celebrate Independence Day, Hex and an unlikely ally, played by Megan Fox, have little time to stop Turnbow and this weapon of mass destruction. And like I said, Brolin seems perfectly casted as Jonah Hex, and he does look like what Jonah Hex should look like. I mean, he's the best thing about this movie. Quite literally, because everything else is fucking terrible. So terrible, I'm coughing about it, but no, really, this is a bad movie. And first off, yeah, Joey Tribbiani produced this movie. Why? Why does Matt LeBlanc produce this movie? Was he supposed to play Jonah Hex at some point, and then they realized, oh wait, this is actually a bad idea? Was this something that he did around the time of Lost in Space, thinking that, well, if Lost in Space is going to be a big hit, it's going to open the floodgates for me to do movies like this, and it just never happened? Or maybe he doesn't even remember him actually doing it. Maybe, I don't know. But maybe the biggest question mark of this whole thing is that, why would you get an animation director that has no experience as a live-action director, except for directing Horton Hears a Who? Like, Horton Hears a Who was a great movie and all, but I'm sorry, you are not Brad Bird or Tim Burton. You can not handle a project like this and expect it to be expect it to work like the way the studio wants it to, because yeah, that should have been the red flag right there of getting somebody who has never directed a live action movie before, and this is the end result of that. I mean, this was just a disastrous mess of a movie. I mean, this is a film that had potential for something great with a cool character like Jonah Hex, and I think in the hands of a better director like a Guillermo del Toro or an Edgar Wright, that could work. I mean, there's a bunch of other directors we have nowadays that I think could probably make it work. I mean, let's see what Mike Flanagan does with Clayface. I think he could be a guy that could make Jonah Hex kind of badass overall. You know, there's definitely a lot of possibilities with other better directors, but not the guy who directed Horton Hears a Who. Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. It's just like, the fact that DC did this, and, you know, say what you will about Marvel when it comes to grabbing, you know, directors who are not relatively known to blockbusters, they at least know that they can hire somebody who at least has a sense of what they're doing in general. But DC's just like, let's grab this guy from an animated movie, the director of, who has never had any live action directing experience, to make this movie. Surely this is going to work out well for us, which it does not. But what specifically is wrong with the movie? For the most part, pretty much everything. It takes the awesome character from the comics, it just gives him nothing to work with it. You can just tell that Brolin is trying to make good with what he can with this, and there's parts of this movie where he's just like, why am I in this movie? Like, it's a bad mix of Ghost Rider and every predictable Western and every revenge picture ever made. Which is funny I bring up Ghost Rider, because guess who's making the next Ghost Rider movie? The writers of this movie, Mark Neverdine and Brian Taylor. So surely they're going to get their shit together for that movie, right? It's going to turn out to be great, right? Yeah, I think you know where this is going, but the rest of the cast is also is completely wasted in here. You got John Malkovich, who's been a great bad guy in the past, but he's just a stereotypical bad guy. There's nothing about him that makes any sense in here. Megan Fox is completely pointless in this. I'm willing to bet that this was the thing that made her steer away from starring in some of our blockbusters, because keep in mind, she was not in the next Transformers movie, and she wanted to do much better movies in general for a little bit there, with Friends with Kids, and This Is 40, which, I mean, that worked for a little bit, and then she just went straight to direct-to-DVD hell, pretty much, which really does suck overall. But she's not a bad actress, but, like, the fact that she fell to that, just, it's very upsetting. And the rest of the casting here deserves better. Michael Fassbender, Michael Shannon, Will Arnett, Aidan Quinn, Lance Reddick, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Nothing to work with here in this movie. The action scenes are horrible to look at. The score was god-awful. Whose idea was it to have Mastodon doing the score for this? The visuals are terrible. It's only 81 minutes long, and it felt like you're sitting there for hours. Like, this is one of the worst things DC could have ever done. This is right up there with Catwoman and Steel as the worst things the studio has ever done. And that's saying a lot, but there's no excuse for this to be as bad as it is. This is just a terrible, terrible movie. And you expect more from DC than this. Like, what more can you say about it? They took an opportunity with a great character and just made a complete, utter pile of garbage that quickly was forgotten. And it's not hard to see why, So let's see if we can get back on the right note here with our last movie, and that is Cyrus. Does not feature John Malkovich as Cyrus the Virus from Con Air. That would have been awesome, but you still get a pretty good movie out of this film. The movie stars John C. Reilly, who plays a recent divorcee who meets and instantly falls in love with a woman named Molly, played by Marissa Tomei. The two start a relationship, but John soon comes to find out that Molly's overprotected son Cyrus, played by Jonah Hill, does not want to share his mother with anyone else. You also have Kathleen Keener in here, and this is probably the better Jonah Hill June release of 2010, and it is a good movie overall. This is made by the Duplass brothers, who gave us Baghead, but also Mark Duplass had just started doing The League on FX, which is a great show that was really the perfect fit show to go with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And this movie works very well. John C. Reilly and Marissa Tomei, of course, are going to give great performances. They're Oscar nominees. Marissa Tomei is an Oscar-winning actress. But this was really the first chance to see Jonah Hill in a more dramatic role that still is more of a comedy. And he does play it very well here. I think he does set the tone for this very well here. It plays off of John C. Reilly very well here. It feels like Step Brothers, except without the over-the-top zaniness and stupid comedy to go with it. But it's done very well. I think it is a very solid film. It's definitely one of the more underrated comedies that these two guys have made, because most people don't really realize that they made this movie. And it kind of came and went when it did. It was a decent hit overall. It did well with critics, but just kind of got pushed off to the side very fast, and nobody really remembers this movie in particular. Well, at least I don't think most people don't remember it, but overall, yeah, it's still a really good film. It's definitely one worth checking out. Definitely check out Cyrus. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Now, the next time we meet, as I unwrinkle my shirt, I just realized that. But next time we meet, we take a look at two big new blockbusters, hopefully for the studios, which kind of worked for one, the other not so much. But Adam Sandler teams up with David Spade, Rob Schneider, Chris Rock, Kevin James in the comedy Grown Ups, and we also have Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz in the second action comedy of the month of June, Night and Day, which some expected to be the better one, and I mean technically they are right because the other one was Killers, but it certainly wasn't as memorable. It certainly wasn't a great movie overall. But we'll talk about those two coming up next time on the show. That'll be tomorrow. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button. And also don't forget to hit the playlist and check out the last episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.